Until now, we've used if statements to test only a very simple condition. But of course, things are going to get a little more complicated, but it's nothing you can't handle with a little perseverance and thought. What if we want to have more than just the two possible answers of pass and fail? What if we want to have a third possible answer of honours? So in this case, my students can have three possible outcomes from their exams. The rule I want to use now is that they will get honours if their mark is greater than 70, pass if their mark is greater than 40, otherwise they're going to fail. Now you can test as many conditions as you wish using if statements, and the trick is to use what is known as a nested if. Here's how they work. What we do is replace the value if false part of the formula with another if statement called a nested if. We're going to use the first formula and edit it here to make the changes required. So now our first test is whether the student has received a mark greater than 70. If this is true, they get honours. But because we have more than two possible outcomes, we need to replace the value if false element with another if statement, like so. So we can edit this formula and take out the fail element, the value if false element, and replace it with an if statement. In this case, we call this a nested if because it is nested inside of the formula. So now we type our next if statement to test the second condition. And this if statement acts in the same way as the first one did. So now after this comma, we put the if. We don't need an equals to sign because you only need that at the start of any formula in Excel, not within the formula, only at the start. And then we continue as I explained previously. So we're going to test the content of cell A2, but this time we're going to test it for the second condition. And the second condition is the mark greater than 40? If it is, then we tell Excel what to do. We display the word pass. Then we type a comma because the if statement requires it, so that we can determine the value if false outcome, which in this case is just the display of the word fail. Now we have to close the brackets. You must match the opening brackets with matching closing brackets. Excel actually color codes the brackets to help you in doing the matching. So now let's recap briefly on what we've done. So we have a new form of if statement. The first if statement checks whether the mark is greater than 70. If it is true, then we get honours. What we've done is replace the false element of the formula with another if statement. So if A2 greater than 70 is not true, then we'll go straight to the second if statement. That if statement will then test whether the mark is greater than 40, the second condition that I have for my students. So it asks, is this condition true? And if it is true, then we're going to give the student a pass. If it's not true, then we'll skip the pass and we give the student a fail, which is the value if false element. We close with two closing brackets to match the opening two brackets. And that's it. If you've understood this lecture, then you shouldn't have too much difficulty in seeing that if you had even more conditions to test, that you could keep putting in nested ifs to test each one in sequence. Remember that Excel reads the statements from left to right. As soon as Excel meets a condition that is true, it stops and doesn't continue. Now try out parts A and B in practice exercise 2 and give it a go without looking at the solution. You will need to think about the problem in part B in particular, and most likely you will need to review this lecture again. It's a little tricky, but honestly, if you get it by yourself, you will be so pleased.